What's up? Slunt's Joker here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Slunt Tech. Once again, I am joined by Tony Mo. And before we get into it, I want to say this is episode 10 of Slunt Tech. Honestly, I wasn't even sure if we'd be able to make it through 10 episodes, so hopefully the show keeps going and you guys keep liking it and we can continue on for 100 or even 1,000 episodes for years to come. And I'm happy to say that Tony Mo is now going to be a part of it, as I've been looking for a committed co-host for a while, and we've now both committed to doing this at least bi-weekly, and we might throw it in intermittently at, on our off week, and see how it goes. But for right now, we're committed to doing it at least bi-weekly, and hopefully we can stick to that. So I'm glad to have you, Tony, because you did great last time. So
thank you. Glad to be here once again.
Yeah, I thought it went really well. Everything really flowed and everything. So it's great. It's just great to have someone that's committed to doing it, for the long haul. And maybe if I could find other people to fill in on our off weeks, I'll try to do it as weekly if I can. But right now we're at least committed to bi-weekly. So let's go ahead and jump right into our first news topic this week. This is going to be an all gaming episode, by the way. We don't have anything hardware related really to talk about. So we're just going to be talking all gaming. And the first news story is going to be about Star Wars Battlefront. That's a game I think everyone has been waiting for years, just wanting just a Star Wars game in general, but Battlefront. And now that it's being handled by DICE, people just been waiting on the edge of their seat for a new Battlefront game, and I cannot wait for this game to come out in October. And we've finally got our first snippet of news, really about Battlefront since like E3 of last year, I think it was, right?
Yeah, it's been quite some time now.
Yeah, it's like two E3s ago they had a trailer with like some snow and an AT-AT, and then last E3 they just had a video that said, "Hey guys, we're working on Star Wars Battlefront. Here's some footage of us working around in the studio of a speeder bike on the moon of Endor," and that was pretty much all we got. But now we know we're going to be getting some more news as we're getting closer to E3, getting closer to the release. That's going to be, I guess, in October. Looks like we're going to be seeing an announcement at the Star Wars celebration. They did say that they were going to be making a big announcement in spring, and spring is here, even though in our neck of the woods, I'm from New Jersey, Tony's up in New York, it's fucking freezing as shit still here.
Snow.
It's supposed to snow on Saturday. It's crazy. It's March 27th and it's about to snow. But they said spring, and I guess it is technically spring, even though it doesn't feel like it outside. And during the Star Wars celebration, which is taking place between April 16th and 19th, they're going to be making this big announcement, hopefully finally showing off some gameplay. I mean, that's what I want to see. What are you looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, definitely gameplay. And I was thinking about this actually yesterday when we talked about this topic. Remember how crazy they just sort of randomly announced the beta for Hardline?
Yes.
Like, what if that's like EA's new strategy is just give people what they want? What if they show up and they're like, beta this summer? I'd friggin' lose it, man.
I think that DICE has learned their lesson so much with Battlefield 4 that I don't see them putting out any multiplayer games anymore without doing a proper beta test.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously benefited Hardline. That game, it's got much more solid launch.
Oh yeah, despite what you think about Hardline, the launch has been solid, rock solid. I mean, I know some people are having like DirectX crashes, but it's just a scarce amount of people compared to what Battlefield 4 was having, where it was 100% of the community was just fucked for like the first 3 months.
Yeah, not so much in the game, getting worse 2 months into development, or 2 months into the launch, and then better, and then worse again. I mean, that was just obviously a nightmare that it's taken them quite some time to recover from. So,
well, I hope they do a beta. I mean, I don't expect them to do one at the Star Wars celebration, but maybe E3 if they did just like Hardline last year. That would be great, for multiple reasons. Just because, first, I want to get my hands on this game. I want to see how it looks on my system. I want to see how it runs on my system. And I just want to play something Star Wars so bad. I'm such a Star Wars fanatic. I can't wait for the new movies and this game. And it's just like total geekdom is just going on right now in my head. And I cannot wait to get my hands on this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's all coming back like in a big way, right? Because you go back like 5 years, it's like most of us who grew up with the original Star Wars films would never have thought that we would see more Star Wars, and
yeah,
those of us who played like, Jedi Knight back in the day never would have thought we would actually see like, a bigger Star Wars game, or, the Battlefront games, obviously. That kind of just always felt like a dead thing, and we kept getting teased with all of this footage of, Battlefront 3 that was supposed to be coming out for, the current gen consoles and PC at the time, and that got canned, and then they showed us all this footage and just teased us endlessly. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. The thing I'm curious about is, usually first showings for games that have multiplayer and single player, they tend to show the single player. So it's like, what will we see? Will it be a lengthy trailer? Will it be all single player? It better be in game. I'm imagining they're not going to show up with the CIG trailer. That would just be.
I'd be very upset if that's all they showed. I want to see in game footage. I don't. I expect single player, like you were saying. I think that's the more likely of the two, unless they actually do have like a multiplayer beta ready to go. But I think it'll probably be single player. And I know that the announcement we had a little while back, where we knew that there's now going to be like all five factions are going to be in the single player. So I'm just looking forward to seeing how that's all going to play out, because it's being handled by DICE. So a lot of people are just expecting Battlefield with a Star Wars skin, but it doesn't really sound like they're going in that direction. It sounds like they are trying to actually do a Battlefront game, like the way Battlefront was, just with hot new graphics in Frostbite 3, which I think everyone wants, really.
Yeah, you definitely, they'd be silly, to just make like Battlefield Star Wars edition, this is their opportunity to stray away from, what they've done over the past decade with Battlefield and take on something new, even if it means, like you said, following the formula that was already established by Battlefront. That formula technically is still really vague. It was just kind of like, all right, big open Battlefield, AI plus real players and objectives. They could take that in so many different directions, not to mention maybe even, getting rid of the AI altogether. I mean,
that's my hope. That's my hope.
Yeah, having like just a ton of players everywhere. We'll have to see multiple, they could have different game modes altogether with it, some with the AI, some without. I'm definitely just intrigued to even get a small idea of how they're going to deliver this whole thing.
Well, in that leaked news that we had a couple months back, I think I did a video on it. I think they were saying it was going to be 128 players online. So you're looking at 64 players aside. That sounds to me like they were going to be getting rid of AI completely if that's the case, because I don't think they're going to have AI as well. And I hope they don't have AI. For me, anyway, we touched on this last time, was on Titanfall, how much I despised the AI. But Battlefront handled AI well. And back in the day when I played it, I remember enjoying the game and not really being too concerned about AI being there. But I think now, as a more mature player who wants to focus on more skill-based combat, I wouldn't really want AI unless the AI is actually going to be intelligent and work strategically together to take objectives and things like that.
Yeah, like you said, I don't really see a point to bring back the AI. I mean, it was more so like, how can they capture the Battlefield, open Battlefield feeling of a Star Wars universe back then? There was no way you were going to do 128 players on the PlayStation 2.
No.
It's just, or even close to that. You had to have AI. I mean, the game was the environments were super low poly for the most part. It's just, now they have all the power, they have the technology. Like you said, I'd much rather be fighting alongside 3 friends on speeder bikes and, a couple guys up in an AT-AT storming through the forest of Endor. That's just...
Oh man, I'm just getting goosebumps with thinking about stomping around in an AT-AT like it was a tank or something in Battlefield, but in Star Wars at the Battle of Hoth in an AT-AT, and there's like fucking speeder bikes going around trying to attach like fucking ropes to your feet and then tie you up and trip you, like,
knock them over and then breach them and kill the guys inside. There's a lot of opportunities there. Hopefully they take full advantage of whatever ridiculousness they can come up with to make that game as intense and as interesting as it can be. That's for sure. Strapping
explosive to speeder bikes and ramming it into AT-ATs.
Oh God, there'll be plenty of those montages.
The possibilities are endless here. I want lightsaber battles, because they said their hero mode is coming back. So when you get like a point streak or a kill streak type thing, you'll be able to spawn in as a hero. If you remember back in the older Battlefront games, you can walk around on the battlefield as fucking Darth Vader. I mean, come on,
Yoda and Windu and that'll be good, man.
It was sick, and in Frostbite 3, it's going to be
next
good.
gen lightsabers for the first time.
Oh yes,
ever.
It's just giving me a nerdgasm thinking about it. All right, well, sort of keeping on topic, with Battlefront and DICE, and we kind of touched on the single player there. If you've noticed in recent years, the single-player experience has kind of dropped off in regards to first-person shooters. I think we saw a nice resurgence with the Wolfenstein: The New Order that we touched on 2 weeks ago in the last Slunt Tech. But recently I read a really great article on Destructoid written by Stephen Turner, and I'm going to link down in the description to this below, and you guys should check it out because it was an excellent read. And it just really got me thinking about single player in general in first person shooters and how much of it has died and just how great it was in Bad Company 1, about this group of soldiers who aren't necessarily, the A team. They aren't no, not the A team like the, with Mr. T. Not the A. I mean like the A team as in like the Alpha team, the top dogs really. They're the Bravo squad. They're the second guys, the backup, the fuck ups. Just in the back of the line, just joking around and drinking beers and just having a good time, and you're rooting for them all at the same time, even though throughout the entire campaign they're a bunch of thieves. They're trying to steal gold for their own selfish purposes, but because they have such likable personalities and the game was such a good time, you could forgive that, and it was great. And it's something that I'd like to see them get back to. I mean, do you have any fond memories of Bad Company 1 with the single player that was missed?
Most definitely. I mean, number one, it was nice that they tried to at least capture somewhat of a sandbox feel in that game. I think that was the last time we really saw anything, to that scale in Battlefield. And that was also probably when destruction was at its best in that game. I remember just tearing down trees for hours for the fun of it.
Yeah, Bad Company 1 and 2 for the destruction, for sure.
And when you talk about, like, you said the underdogs, there's in that article, he makes an excellent reference to Kelly's Heroes, which is one of my all-time favorite Clint Eastwood films, because it has Donald Sutherland, and it's hilarious, and that's exactly what it's about. And when I remember playing Bad Company, thinking to myself that entire time, like, dude, this is like the video game version of Kelly's Heroes. These dudes are just out to steal gold. They all have ridiculous personalities. They're so likable, and they totally captured that. And like that was a great article, and like just him putting that link to that Kelly's Heroes clip in there like made that for me. But
yeah,
like you said, they took away the idea of like, oh, serious, you're in a war, and they were like, let's tell something that's more interesting to the player. Somebody who, let's be honest, most of us can't relate with what it's like to be in war. Yeah. And games always try and capture that, and I think it works when you're trying to tell it from a historical perspective, with World War II style games, or something that's trying to tell you a story of something that happened. I get that. But when you're in this modern environment, they took the better route, which was, let's just tell something else. Let's not talk about war. Let's talk about, like you said, some guys just stealing gold. Let's make a story out of that. And I mean, that's just such a successful first-person shooter campaign.
Yeah, and he also made a reference to Generation Kill. Did you ever see that, the HBO miniseries?
No, I don't think I ever have watched that, actually.
Oh man, you should definitely check that out. He was right, and when he said that is that there's basically two different paths you can kind of go. With shooter campaigns, you can either kind of go with the fun side, which is like what Bad Company was all about. The Generation Kill style. If you ever saw Generation Kill, is a fantastic miniseries on HBO that focused on a Humvee crew during the initial when we went into Iraq, basically back in the early 2000s. They were the tip of the spear, basically. And it was all about this ragtag group of Humvee crew, and they were being followed around by a news reporter. It was all based on a true story. A guy that had written an article about it for Rolling Stone. And the characters in that were just fantastic. And I definitely see some of that in Bad Company. Definitely could have been an influence for sure as to why they decided to go with a more fun angle with the story, rather than being so dead serious like the Battlefield campaigns are, and like the Medal of Honor campaigns that just try to be super, super serious and just try to have fun for once. And it worked out great, but unfortunately they've gone away from that now because I guess according to this article and the sale numbers, it didn't really sell all that well. A lot of that might have to do with the fact that Bad Company 1 was never out on PC, which I think is an absolute crime. I played it on the Xbox 360 and I loved it. Also, Bad Company 2, I played that in the 360. I didn't transition really over to PC until Battlefield 3. So I wish they would bring back Bad Company 1 and bring it to the PC and the next-gen consoles. I think now is the right time. I was talking to Tony about this earlier. DICE pretty much seems, or EA anyway, seems set on having an annual release cycle for Battlefield, which is something I'm against. I don't want it to be Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed-nized at all in any way, and it's just going to become the next bastardized franchise that's going to become the same rehash bullshit every year, and it's just going to slowly degrade and get worse and worse and worse. So before that happens, I'd like to see them maybe on one of the off years where they don't have a game to come out, maybe next year or the year after. Why not take Bad Company 1 and 2 and do an HD remake on the Frostbite 3 engine and re-release it for the next-gen consoles and the PC? I think now's the right time to do that, or in a year or so, after Battlefront is out of the way, but maybe before BF5 even do that. It would just kind of give them, a year to sort of settle down and take their time with BF5 if they wanted to work on a new engine. But I think it would be great to see.
Yeah, I'm interested just in general to see the next 2-3 years with DICE and EA, because they're in a very they're in a flux right now. I mean, they brought on another developer. Hardline was delayed the first time that we actually see a Battlefield game not, be released the year it was said to be released. That got pushed back. I mean, I know Visceral is like their own team now. They've been with EA for so long doing their own thing, but it's like Battlefront coming out. Like, I just don't know what's going to go on with that whole future. That's weird. But like you said, I would definitely like to see those games come to PC. I'd like to see them come back in general, especially the multiplayer.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'd love to go back and play that and, refresh. Maybe even take the time to update, the controls and just make it run a little bit smoother. But like you said, it's funny how that's when you start to have the issues with publishers, is they look at numbers in such just a very generic way. Like, I'm all for looking at numbers and using that to your advantage, but when you look at the time period that Bad Company 1 and 2 came out, like, video game sales for first-person shooters just were nowhere near where they are now. I mean, Battlefield really hadn't broken into the place that it now sits alongside of Call of Duty. Back then it was like Call of Duty was that FPS titan with Halo. And Battlefield was there, but it definitely didn't hold the same weight that it does now. It's like, I would like to think that if a game like Bad Company came out now with that campaign, it would sell as well as Battlefield is selling now. I don't think it had anything to do with the game. It was just the time period. Absolutely. And sadly, I think that in terms of doing an HD remake, EA is just going to look back and say, well, it didn't sell that well back then. Why remake it now? But,
yeah, And I just wanted to add, sort of like you were saying there, I agree completely. I didn't think about this, but, I mean, the player base that they have now in BF3 and then BF4 and Hardline, I believe that the majority of that was bridged from the Bad Company series, because so many people have been coming over to the PC in the past few years, and a big part of that was Battlefield 3, but it was directly contributed to the success of Bad Company 2 on the console, I feel. Bad Company 2's multiplayer on the console was huge. It was so popular and brought so many new people into the Battlefield franchise that, before that had never really even paid it any thought because it was primarily a PC thing. Bad Company 1 had came out and it had its fans for the single player. The multiplayer wasn't excellent. It was okay. But Bad Company 2's multiplayer was fantastic and the single player wasn't that great. But it brought so many people into the franchise then, and then they were interested in Battlefield. And then we saw BF3 coming out with, these amazing graphics, and people were like, I want to play with the full graphics and everything, just like, all the guys I'm watching on YouTube, like Level Cap and all them. So then so many people started getting into PC, and now the audience for Battlefield has just grown and grown and grown. And it's huge now, but I think that's directly contributed to Bad Company, even if it did have worse sales than BF3 or BF4. I don't think we'd have the audience today that it does have if it wasn't for those games.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. Bad Company 2 established itself on the console, with Xbox Live. It was one of the games. I remember I was always looking at the chart. Microsoft used to update it all the time back in the day. Most actively played multiplayer games on Xbox Live. And Bad Company, when it released, was up there with Halo. Halo was starting to sort of fall down on the list. And Call of Duty, which was always sitting at number one. It made its way up there. And it was definitely, for me, it was a, really memorable set of years where that's what we played. My group of friends, Bad Company 2,
Absolutely.
Xbox 360, all the time. And like you said, for me, it was like, I've always been a PC, but a lot of my friends didn't even know what the hell Battlefield 2 was. Yeah. I remember explaining it to them, introducing it to them, and then 3 drops, and it's like, wow, we now have this Battlefield that's going to be on PC and on console. Like, this is, jets are coming in, all the big memories from Battlefield 2. And, like you said, it definitely... The player basis has just grown substantially since then. I mean, you have people who probably would never have touched a Battlefield game playing it on the console, playing it on PC, just everywhere. It's
like you were just saying with the, I didn't even really know that. I mean, I had heard of Battlefield, but I had always just thought of it as, isn't that game just like all vehicles? Like, that doesn't really interest me. I'm more interested in like Call of Duty and infantry style and, like Medal of Honor campaigns. I'm not really I don't want to just play vehicles. Isn't like, I honestly thought Battlefield was just all tanks and like jets. I was like, that sounds really boring to me. I don't want to play that. And then I tried Bad Company. I was like, this is great. And then Bad Company 2, I thought that was great. And then I was like, when Battlefield 3 was getting set to come out, I was like, oh, great, they're going back to all vehicle warfare. It's like, that's how naive I was at the time to what Battlefield was as a console player. I'll admit it here, I'm definitely PC guy now, but back then, I was part of the console mustard race. It was... but it really, it transitioned me into wanting to get onto the PC because of Battlefield 3. I was one of those people that I'm talking about that made that transition because of Battlefield. I bought a PC because of Battlefield 3, and that's how I got here today, is all because of that. All because of Battlefield, basically. So I want a new Bad Company game. I'd like to see the old ones get rehashed and brought into the Frostbite 3. I don't care. I just want an excuse to get back on Bad Company, because the servers are pretty much gone now on the PC. They have like some modded hacked servers, but I want it to be back at the forefront, and I want to get a lot of people on there playing. Hopefully on the new engine. That would be great, I think.
Just to play the single player, even like you said, man, it'd be worth it alone. Just to replay the story, just to experience it again. I think it deserves that.
Yeah, and the hardcore PC players, they've never experienced the Bad Company 1 single player or multiplayer because it was a console exclusive. So that fact alone is grounds to bring it over because it had a great campaign.
Sure.
All right, so now moving on from DICE and Star Wars and Bad Company and all that stuff, over to a game that's sort of might be in a lot of people's minds right now because of Hardline with its cops and robbers theme, is Payday 2, which they recently announced they're going to be supporting for another 2 more years with free DLC. So I'm sure fans of the franchise that like playing that sort of co-op, gameplay against AI in these incredibly difficult scenarios, because they are extremely difficult. I think in both games, I never got past like the first couple levels because they were just so fucking hard. But they're going to be, supporting it for another 2 years, and I'll let you go over the logistics of that, Tony, because I'm not too familiar with what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, they've specified a little bit vaguely on what they want to do with the DLC. The big thing is that Overkill has renewed their sort of partnership with 505, who's been publishing the games for them for another year. So that's just their partnership being renewed there. But with that, Overkill said is that they want to continue to support Payday for 2 years going forward with a combination of free DLC and paid DLC. And that's just not. They're not just talking about new modes and new like guns and characters. They want to go as far as new mechanics. They even tease a little bit about drivable cars. And I think the big thing for them with this move is that Overkill with Payday literally turned around their company. Payday 2's release and the success of that game and their DLC plan that they've been carrying on with, they were in the gray. They were almost at like 50% loss, I guess, for their profits. They were so down and out. The company was on the verge of possibly, going bankrupt, that being the end of it. And Payday 2 was so successful that it's brought them back. I mean, they're a profitable company now. 505 was more than happy to continue to be a publisher for them. And now we're just going to see this game to get supported for 2 more years. And it's perfect timing because they're also releasing the game as a updated version on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. So now they're going to have all 3 consoles covered, all 3 platforms covered. You'll have your PC and you'll have your next gen and current gen consoles. And I mean, that's just, the game's running, it's like $40 everywhere. To me, that's like, that game is literally, if you have a group of friends, like you said, who are willing to take on the challenge, because it is really hard. If you have like one slightly incompetent friend, it'll blow the whole freaking thing, and you'll end up really frustrated. But, if you're looking for a solid co-op game with 4 people, I mean, that is like the deal of the century right now. And the pricing on the DLC has been, in my opinion, great. They're charging like $5 for these packs that usually come with like 2 or 3 new heist setups, new characters, new weapons, a lot of cosmetic stuff. And to me, that's just like, I'd more than happily, pay that. That's not a bad price at all for more content for a game that you're going to be able to keep pouring hours and hours and hours into. So I think that's just an exciting thing for that game. Not many great like co-op versus AI games like that. Everything's really multiplayer only or single player. So it's nice to see that game getting some love.
Yeah, and it would have been interesting to see what would happen if they brought in competitive into gameplay into Payday, but I credit them for sticking to their guns, though, so to speak, because they know what they are and they know what their fans like, and they built on what they did with Payday 1, and hopefully even if they do a third one in the future, maybe they can build on it even more and make it even more successful.
Yeah, who knows with these 2 years of DLC, they're talking new mechanics. Maybe we'll see something like that. I mean, this is the year of the heists. You mentioned
Yeah,
Hardline.
yeah.
We got GTA,
Oh yeah.
and we got Payday still kicking. It's cops and robbers theme is coming, return to games in a big way.
Oh yeah, it's definitely come to the forefront. I'm not sure how I really feel about that. I've always been a fan of military stuff, and cops and robbers was never really my thing. But I've been enjoying Hardline mostly recently. There's some quirks about it, but Payday is really the one that kicked it off. I mean, they were doing cops and robbers way before Hardline was ever even a thing.
Yeah, with the original,
Yeah.
they've just captured the whole like sort of Diablo like loot dungeon formula and then just put it into like a bank heist game is how Overkill put it several years ago with Payday 1. So
Yeah, definitely. So I support them just for the fact that they're going to continue to support the game. Anytime a developer is willing to do that and not just put out, bullshit content like, we see from, just, oh, it's just a map pack or whatever. Like their expansions are usually pretty extensive and you're looking at getting another, like 20, 30 hours out of the game at least, if not more, depending on how much time you want to put into it. But with the way that the levels are set up and how difficult it is, it might take you 20, 30 tries at a level before you finally figure out the way to beat it and get the right group of friends together to finish it, because it is genuinely just extremely difficult. And there's no, each level has its own set difficulty. You can't slide that, if I remember correctly, right? You can't change the difficulty for levels.
No, they did actually make it so they like stage it so certain heists have like a different difficulty value now, and then there's also like a hard mode they added on that you can like bump up the difficulty even further on it. So,
but you can't there's no basic slider where you could just say easy, medium, hard.
It's like you said, it's set for each of the things. This one's this hard, this one's that hard, and that's not to mention perfecting them. Most of them can be run full stealth, which. Good luck with that.
Yeah, and that adds in a whole other aspect of it. And that's like one of the really fun things to try to do is, let's see if we can get in and do a bank job without even being seen, or a diamond heist or whatever. And that's how was my initial approach as how I wanted to play it. But then I realized I was like, this is really fucking hard. Why don't we just shoot everyone and we'll steal the diamonds and run as fast as we can, and then you just get mowed down by cops in the street. Because that game it's hard. It takes planning. It takes the right group of friends. If you just hop in with a group of random people, you're not gonna beat it. Not the more difficult levels. No way.
Yeah, definitely not.
You need to be on voice comms for that game for sure. All right, 100%. And sorry, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, yeah, that's it. We'll just look to the future of that game. We'll see what it brings. I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I'll look forward to checking it out again as they release more content. I haven't really touched it in a while, but if they start putting out some new content that's worth taking a look at, then I would definitely reinstall Payday 2 and check it out. Especially if we're talking about free DLC, I'm all about free. If it's free, it's for me. A friend of mine used to say. And speaking of free, we're moving right into our next topic, which is a free-to-play game. Which I finally got a chance to get my hands on. I talked about this like almost a month back when I had Charlie and Hendy on for Slunt Tech, and I hadn't played Dirty Bomb yet because I had just signed up for the beta. But I got my beta invite code finally, and I had a chance to sit down and play it over the past couple days, and I've really enjoyed it so far. It's sort of like a class-based system, almost like Battlefield, where you've got your ammo guy, you've got your medic, and each of them have their own different types of skills and abilities and different weapon variants. You got your medic that uses like a shotgun and moves a lot quicker, that can heal and revive people, and you've got an ammo guy who can also call in like artillery strikes. And there's a good mix, and then there's cards that you can unlock in these random open boxes that give you different variants of that character that have different skill traits and different weapons, and then also different characters as well. So there's a lot there. So far, I'm not really too sure if it's going to be a pay-to-win aspect, if that's because I don't think I've played enough to really be able to make a determination on that yet. But I had a good time without paying any money so far. I think you were saying you've played more.
Yeah, I've been in the beta now for, I think, going on 3 months. It's been almost more than that even. And it's, in terms of like you said, the pay to win, it's not really an issue yet. They haven't really talked too much about what they're doing for items, for paying for items yet. It's all kind of just been, everything's just in the game. They haven't really talked about a currency yet or anything like that, so we don't know how we're going to do that. This will also be the first time that that team, Splash Damage, has ever done a free-to-play game. So I'm just hoping they look to other free-to-play games that have been successful and focused on cosmetics and, just exclusive like camoed weapons to keep it really heavily team based. But it's definitely, it's like, having played it, it's very much just a splash damage game, which Splash Damage is the same developer. It's like the same, I don't know how many people are still there, but it's many members of the same team that created Enemy Territory, Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, which was one of the like the most played multiplayer only shooters till now. People still play it. I remember playing it back in freshman year of high school, and even my last year in middle school. I had friends who were just addicted to it and would not stop playing it. But it follows the splash damage formula. Like you said, you have the class-based gameplay has just been a big thing with splash damage, from Enemy Territory to Brink to this.
Yeah, and then that's what it first reminded me of. I was telling you Brink, and then you were like, "Oh, it's the same. It's the same people worked on." I was like, "Oh, really?" Because that makes sense, because it reminds me of Brink if Brink was actually good.
Yeah, and they took the player character body types from Brink as well. Brink did the same thing. Obviously, Brink had that parkour system in it, but they had the 3 different body types. So you had light, mediums, and heavies, and the same thing exists in Dirty Bomb, just based on class. Like you said, the medic is considered a light class. You have your standard sort of assault rifle guy. He's considered a medium class, and then there's a heavy guy who's the grenader, who is the tank type character. He takes a little bit more damage, but it's a very small difference too between the 3 of them. Unlike Brink, which was kind of more severe, I would say. The bigger characters were really tanky, whereas this there's just small
it's
margins.
More mobile.
Yeah.
I would have liked to seen them actually bring back the sort of the free running parkour style of Brink, because that's one of the things I thought they nailed really well.
I think that would have been cool, to see that. I was kind of disappointed when they first announced it. It was a different game altogether. I don't even remember the name of it, to be honest. That was almost 3 years ago they announced Dirty Bomb as something different. And I was hoping they would bring those mechanics back. I was like, oh, maybe they're going to try and do, sort of a Brink thing, except make it free to play on PC and, see if they can have a little bit more success. But sadly, that's not a part of it. There's still some great elements, though, from Brink, which, again, are really just from every other game Splash Damage has ever made. Like, there's lots of constructible elements in the environments. You can build ramps to go to machine gun turrets to cover certain parts of the map. And I'd say that that's its strong points, are lots of the bits and pieces that they've taken from their past experiences in developing team-based games. And then sort of the new thing with that card system. But the big thing for me in the 3 months that I've played it is it still hasn't found its place. I feel like it needs just a little bit more to make itself stand out. Because right now I'm kind of like, why don't I go play Team Fortress? Yeah. Someone who played Team Fortress, there's just something needs to click there for me to really want to play it, and it just hasn't done that yet. But it's still closed beta. That's why we're playing it. So they've definitely made a lot of changes since I first started playing it 3 months ago.
Yeah, and one of the first things I noticed when I started playing Brink was just, the movement and like the aiming and the gunplay, and how everything worked just so well right out of the box. Even though, it is a beta, everything felt really polished to me right away. I mean, with it, after playing the training, I felt like I pretty much knew everything I needed to know about the game. There were other things like other strategies, like as far as getting around the map, because it's not as free as Brink was, where you can like slide under things and all that stuff, but you can do sort of like double jumps off of walls to reach at certain places. It's kind of hard to pull off, and I think they have a little bit of work there still to do to make it a little bit more polished, because it looks like there's some spots where it's like that's meant to be able to do a double jump to, but it's kind of difficult to actually pull it off, and it feels like it should be a little bit more fluid. But besides that element right there, everything else felt great. The guns felt snappy. It takes a pretty decent amount of time to kill on everyone, so you got to be on the ball with your aim and getting all of your shots on target. Because if you roll up to like a group of 3 people by yourself and you're not with your team, you might get one of them. But chances are you might not even get any of them, because they're just all going to turn around and you're going to be dead really, really quick. You got to work with your team. Teamwork is key in this game. It's so important because it's objective-based gameplay. It reminds me of, Brink again, the way that the objectives work, where you might have to like get fuel for a vehicle, and then you got to defend the vehicle and repair the vehicle and then blow something up. I don't know why we blew up a building in that game with an EMP, but we did for some reason. Everyone in the chat was like, how the hell do EMPs blow up buildings? I don't know. Don't question it. Just fucking do it. Just get the EMPs, we'll blow the building up. But I like that style of gameplay because it sort of reminded me also of like Rush from Battlefield, like where you're progressing through the level and doing objectives, and it's unlocking more areas. And then as you were saying before, you can like construct certain things like ramps to get to other areas, or if you're on defense, you can construct certain walls to cut off areas of access so the attacking team can't get to you from different routes, and it'll make it a lot easier for you to defend your area. So I feel like the maps are balanced very well for both sides. They still have some work to do on the class system. A lot of people are complaining about shotguns being a little bit too overpowered. But that meta class, they also have a much lower health system than anyone else out there. But the health packs, you could throw those down and kind of just work your corners.
I feel like that's totally typical, just people complaining too, because the shotgun is like the weakest gun in the game, because all I do is play medic in that, and I get stomped out.
Yeah, same thing happens to me. I'm not really a shotgun player, so I was just like, man, I wish I could just get an SMG for this class so bad, because that's all I would play would be medic, and I think everyone would probably. But there wasn't enough medics going around because I don't think they want to play with shotguns, which I guess that might be a good thing. That might be a good balancing thing right there.
Yeah, eventually, if they hang around the card system, there are SMGs for some of the cards for those classes. I know I had a small SMG it was like a PDW basically for that medic class. But
oh wow, I need to get that one.
Yeah, you get a stumble upon. Like you said though, with the teamwork thing, I definitely wanted to talk about that briefly, because it's the fact that it takes so long to kill people in that game. It's like they're definitely trying to push a really heavy team play emphasis, especially with the medic. And I think that's the one thing, that's the reason why I haven't made like a video really giving my final thoughts on that game. I played it a little bit, because until I play it with the team, it's just
hard
not
to capture
fair to
good
judge
game.
it.
It's hard to capture good gameplay if you go on like a massive spree anyway.
Yeah,
That's what I wanted. I wanted to record, and I was like, well, I'm recording right now, but I look like I suck because I'm trying to run around by myself. That wasn't really working out too well.
Yeah, I was, it's hard to, I just wanted to feel what it was like to actually have a team to go against the team, and I haven't been able to play like that yet, so it's just a bunch of people running around, and no one knows what the hell's going on. No one's paying attention to the fact that I throw down a medic station.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
And no one else is like throwing down, like, why aren't you throwing down medic stations? Like, you are a medic. This is what you do. You are a medic.
That's the only thing you're good for at the end of the day, because you can't kill anybody.
Pretty much. Yeah,
without dying.
Well, that's why I'm trying to get more people involved for the beta. So I'm going to put a link down in the description below for the Dirty Bomb beta. Sign up for it. They're doing them, sporadically. They'll do it for a day or two here and there, or for a weekend. And
well, it's up for good now. They finally just today.
Yeah, that's right. I remember seeing that. Yeah, they said it's back for good. So sign up for the beta. There will be a link in the description below, and once you get in, you'll be in for good, I guess, now through until the development cycle is done and the full game is released. And hopefully I can get more of my friends on, so can get a good team together and actually work together to see how the game actually plays out when it's played the right way. Because I think they have a strong product. As far as mechanics are concerned, I think everything is in the right place. It still has a little bit more work to do, and just need to get some more friends on it, really, and I think that'll be a great experience.
Yeah, I think the last thing I want to talk about, too, with it is that, for me, Splash Damage has always been good at making, giving their games a lot of character. I mean, Enemy Territory, even though it was a World War II game, it had this, almost goofy feel to it, and it was just, it captured a nice little niche. And then Brink was the same way. Brink obviously had a very unique art style and the way that they did their characters, and then all of the gear and the weapons that you could think, right? And I think Dirty Bomb is sitting on this fence where it has lots of very real, weapon models that look very much like their real life counterparts, but then they throw in nice little, niches on there. A small piece of a graffiti on one of the assault rifles I had. It kind of had graffiti on the foregrip. I'd like to see more of that, because I think that makes the game stand out a little bit more. It gives it a little bit more character. And when you're playing a first-person shooter like that, where the main focus is just teamwork and do the objectives, small touches like that, they stick out to me, and they make the game just a little bit more enjoyable, when it has its own little personality. It doesn't just feel like another team-based shooter. So I hope they start to induce more of that. You kind of see it with the characters. They all have their own bios. They tell you about their backgrounds and what they like to do. I mean, the sniper, when you look at his profile, when you unlock him, he says, "I'm the sniperest sniper around."
Yeah, and I like his name as well, Vasily.
Yeah, Vasily Zaitsov.
Yeah, Vasily Zaitsov, the greatest Russian sniper that ever lived, from Enemy at the Gates.
Great film.
In case for any of you people aren't following, I have Vasily's rifle literally 3 feet away from me. I have a Mosin Nagant. People they're so cheap. You're so cheap.
Yeah,
you can get it for $100. Why would you not have a Mosin Nagant?
Yeah, if you like rifles, buy one. You can get them like you said, $100, $140, and almost anywhere. Yeah,
I got mine off AIM Surplus for $99, and I paid an extra $20 for the handling fee at the gun shop, and that was it.
There you go. The ammo is dirt cheap too. I reload my own for that, and it's Bulgarian Ball 76254R is like so cheap. You just buy it in boxes, just tin cans that have still been sealed since back then. It's just dirt cheap. So good shooter's rifle.
Getting a little off topic.
Anyways.
Though. All right, now moving on to our last topic of the day, which is sort of sticking with the theme from Dirty Bomb as being a free-to-play. Looks like Halo Online was just announced for the PC, of all things, but only in Russia. What the fuck? Why only Russia? What do those commie bastards ever do to deserve? I'm kidding. It's a fucking joke.
I just don't know who in Russia is going to play Halo. Like, I don't know anything about Russia.
That's racist. My commie bastard comment, there. That was not racist, but that was racist.
It's like, what do they do in Russia? Every time you hear about Russia, everybody's driving around with dashboard cams because no one knows how to friggin' drive over there. They're getting in accidents. Who can even make it to the store?
Planes are crashing on the highways.
But maybe that's why they need Halo Online. Just stay inside, play free-to-play Halo, drink lots of vodka, lots of stereotypes here, and
forget about the cold outside. Even though it's summer, it's forget about the cold anyway. It's snowing outside. There's buildings falling down, and Stalin's oppressing you somehow. Wow, this is a really racist way to go about this. I'm so sorry to all of my Russian fans. We are joking. I hope you understand.
Let's talk about the trailer that they showed off for it, which is
before we get blown up by Russians.
Which is odd because it's Halo, obviously, but there's like some weird things going on with the character design. They almost have sort of a Tron appearance to them. You see like this glowing on their armor. They showed off weapons with like attachments, suppressors, like extra set of iron sights on one of the ARs. It looks like something I actually would like to play as a Halo fan. Like, bring it here. I'll play that.
Well, hopefully they do at some point. I can't imagine them keeping it just in Russia. I mean, why would they do that?
Yeah, I don't know if they're just trying to capture a market there. You know, they have apparently the team working on it is the same team that worked on the Master Chief Collection as well as Halo Combat Evolved.
That's not a good thing.
It's not because of the release of that, but the fact is the guy behind the multiplayer design for that is the dude who like was the original Halo guy. He also helped pioneer Xbox Live, and he's working on that over there. So they're probably going to get a bunch of awesome new maps that we'll never see here, much like when Halo 1 and Halo 2 released on PC, we saw exclusive maps.
Yeah, I mean, I'm mostly. I mean, it looks fun. I had a lot of great memories playing Halo on the original Xbox, especially Halo 2, with friends on split screen, and then on the 360 with Halo Reach and ODST. I enjoyed all of those games. I never got around to playing Halo 4. I would love to see the Master Chief Collection come to PC if they ever fix it. But this would be a nice stopgap at least. I'd like to be able to play some sort of Halo on the PC, because right now I think is a really great time for it because arena shooters are coming back in a big way. You've got Epic working on their project Blue Streak. We've seen Cliffy B talking about it quite passionately, and I'm excited for that. You've got a new Unreal Tournament coming out on Unreal Engine 4.
It's already out. You can play it.
you can play. There's a version of it you can play right now. So arena shooters have been slowly starting to come back over the past few years. We had that game Toxic that came out that looked sort of like a Halo clone, but I played it. It was terrible, in my opinion. And now this. So now's the right time, I think. You know, with Halo on the PC, they're talking about, you know, combining the Windows 10 and Xbox Live experience together. So I think bringing Halo and PC back together in its rightful place where it started is what I'd like to see. And if we could do that with Halo Online at least, for the time being, until, you know, maybe a future Halo game or the Master Chief Collection, then I would be all for that, because I would just like to be able to get back to two-piecing people. That's the slap and the shotgun,
BXR.
in case you're not familiar.
BXR and people with the battle rifle.
Oh yeah, that was all about the two-piece for me, man. You shotgun them and then you give them a slap, and then they're just down on the ground. The two-piece and the biscuit.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it'd be nice just to see Halo on PC, like in a way where we can actually play it at some point.
Yeah, and bring back like classic maps and map editors and all that stuff. I mean, the map editors in those games were fantastic. To see what people on the PC would be able to do with that, and then throw on mod support too. God, you're talking about just a massive mods. There'd be such a massive following for that. I think on the PC, I think that genre just feeds right into PC gameplay so well, and it's been unfortunate that they've been tied to the Xbox basically, just, you know, for money. That's basically what it's all about, is money.
Yeah, that's their baby. I mean, it sells consoles, you know, that's for sure. So
Yeah, so if Halo Online is the only way we're going to see Halo on PC at any point in the future, then I hope they do at least bring it to America and not just Russia.
I'll just play it in Russian, I guess.
Yeah, otherwise I'll just be launching up my Russian VPN and I'll just play from there with a really terrible ping, and no one will be able to hit me because I'll be just skipping around on the screen, and that'll be fine for me. I'll do that. I'll do that all day long.
You won't be able to read what they're saying anyways if they're cursing at you, so it's all good.
That's fine. Das Vidanya, Niet Vodka. I understand Russian perfectly fine. Oh, man. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Slunt Tech. We don't have anything else more for you. It's been kind of a slow news week. Hopefully for the next episode, we'll have some more stuff for you. But we got a good length of this. We're running almost 50 minutes here, so good length of time. We were able to discuss some topics, and I had a good time. I hope you did as well, Tony.
Definitely, as always.
Yeah, so if you guys like this video and you enjoyed Slunt Tech and you want to see us keep doing it, be sure to stick a like on the video below, comment, on things we discussed, and open up discussion down in the comments below, and then we can talk to you as well down there. And be sure to follow on Facebook and Twitter, and there'll be links down in the channel to Tony Moe's channel and his Twitter and all that stuff. So be sure to check all that out. I'll catch you guys next time. Cheer up!